I was flying a transport plane called a Voyager, and we were flying from RAF Bryce Norton out to Camp Bastion in Afghanistan. A friend of mine who was a passenger in the back came forwards for a chat because he knew I was flying it. And I said, "Look, I'm gonna take a break, so I'll come for a cup of tea behind the cockpit." When all of a sudden the plane went into a nosedive, we were pinned on the roof, and then all I can see is the sea because we're just going straight into the sea.
I have the great pleasure to have with us here Nathan Jones. Thank you, Nathan Jones. A round of applause from our beloved Nathan. Thank you for being so generous and kind to accept our invite to be here. I hope we can create a nice setting to navigate throughout some interesting information and interesting stories you can share with us. Let's try to understand and on your way or the way you want to share that, the genesis of that. How what is the core of Nathan Jones? You know, how life was from, uh, childhood or teenager times to turn up to be this Royal Air Force. Let's start with that Royal Air Force hero for United Kingdom. As you please.
Thanks for the thanks for the intro. So yeah, probably obviously as a Royal Air Force pilot, I was in the United Kingdom. You can probably tell by my accent. And I grew up in a seaside town in Wales, so like geographically quite close to where Liverpool is. But from a sporty background, sporty family, and that was always my sort of my reason for being. Everything sporty was all I did. Everything was outdoors. Being in the mountains, being in the sea, being on a playing field, that was my happy place. So yeah, I wasn't particularly academic. I managed to kind of cruise through school, but my goal was always to be a professional athlete. I was lucky enough to play internationally for various sports when I was a kid. I suppose achieving high things when I was young. So yeah, I skied a lot and skied for my country and played rugby and did athletics, and I suppose it was that athleticism that it led me to all forms of sport really. And then went to university to do sports science to expand my knowledge on it. And I suppose, I was never going to be a mathematician, so or a doctor, so I went to follow my passions, and then that was where I continued my journey as a rugby player, and then started playing professionally then. And yeah, that was kind of, I was reaching my goals of what I wanted to do really.
Sports can give you pretty much this resilient structure, and I think I can transform this into a question. Was the sport the reason that created the core of you of being resilient in throughout your whole journey after the sports?
I don't know. So it's kind of a multifaceted question, that, and you've kind of made it as a statement and a question. I would say, so resilience is a like an interesting topic, and people sort of they go, right, I want to learn to be resilient. Resilience isn't something that you're born with. Resilience is a learned thing. It's a learned emotion. It's a learned skill. And you have to be resilient, you have to have gone through these hard times and times of failure, times of hardship, times of pain, times of this kind of roller coaster of emotion in order to make yourself come back stronger. And that's the way that you build resilience. And when I was a kid, I would say that I wasn't resilient, and I hated failure, and I was afraid of failure. And they say that, people going through life that are at most risk are people that have never failed, because all you're doing is you're just building yourself up and up and up, and then when you do fail, because everyone will come into hard times or fail at something, then the cliff's just higher. You've just set yourself up for a bigger fall. And really it's an easier way of building resilience if you are constantly failing and building back, and you're not afraid of failing and building back. And this is a key concept that people know now. And we speak about it a lot. It's like, don't be afraid of failure in sport, in business, in life, and whatever. But I would say when I was younger, I was massively afraid of failure, whether it was, afraid of what your friends would think, afraid of what your parents would think, what your coach, your teachers, and yeah, when you're a kid, you kind of cover up, and if you've done something wrong, you'll make excuses for it. And I was the master of making excuses, and it was never my fault. It was always someone else, or it was something happened, or there was a noise before the start gun, that was why I false started, or whatever. It could be anything. And really, it's easy to say, oh, if I knew what I know now back then, I'd have been a different person. But I would have been, because, and if people had explained to me, look, it's okay to fail. It's a good thing that you failed, and that's what you'll build from. All businesses, the successful businesses, the businessmen have failed time and time again, which is why they've got to where they've got to. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and I suppose because of the way that I've gone through life, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster. Yeah, you would naturally think that it was kind of my childhood that made me more resilient, but I don't think it necessarily was. It was just the fact that I was sporty and liked adrenaline and liked all of these things that will have definitely stood me in good stead in a lot of ways. But then it probably hampered me in others when it comes to the negative sides, and we'll go into it later, I'm sure, and the how hard it's been to get over mentally as well as physically. I think it probably does hark back to childhood, where I didn't fail a lot, and it was just luck, really, that I didn't get injured that much, and I didn't fail a lot, and I seemed to be achieving a lot when I was younger. So when I did fail, then it's harder to take.
This mentality is for sure forging more creativity and more progress, because Silicon Valley is based on printed money, easy money. And I think maybe this easy money gives this platform in which, hey, look, you're getting $1 million a year. Fine, you're going to try, because you try, make mistakes, come back to the lab, iterate, come back. And was the sport this lab in which you saw, I found a place in which can support me when I fail, and build up my resilient character for the future? Was some intuition from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has made me more intuitive. I think a lot of it, and a lot of the like you're explaining with business and in society and how Silicon Valley is being run. A lot of it's to do with risk and management of risk. And if the risks and stakes are high, then you're less likely to want to fail. If and also in sport, if it's a team sport or an individual sport, it's different as well, because it's either you're letting yourself down or your coach or your family, or you're letting your teammates down. And in business, it's you're letting your customers down, your company down, your shareholders down, whatever, and your risks are, it's mitigating risk. That's the kind of the driver for, well, do you know what, I'm happy to fail. Well, if you've got a load of shareholders or a load of people that are relying on you, and you're kind of going in carelessly and going, well, I'll grow back stronger. That's a pretty tough mentality to have.
Yeah.
If you're a base jumper and you're going, well, I'll give it a crack.
Yeah.
The risks are high.
That's true.
So it's like, where is the safe space to fail? And like you say before, sport is a great leveler in this. And, on the training pitch, that's when the time to fail is completely, because the risks aren't there. You're not dropping points in the season because it's not a game. You're failing, and, you're trying these things out. And I think that's a key, like, metaphor with that, and the ability to fail.
Absolutely, yes. I think it's, in my opinion, is how Jordan got so comfortable understanding that, okay, if I lose, I know what is beyond this door. If I win, then I'm doing a win that nobody did before, and it's more or less this, right?
Yeah. And you're accustomed to failure, and Jordan is a good example. He missed more shots than he took, than he made. Roger Federer missed more tennis shots than he got in. It's all of these sporting analogies that you can use, that failure is inevitable. The key is how you come back from it. And the Mike Tyson thing, everything's fine until you get punched in the nose. You don't want the first time you get punched in the nose to be when you're in your first fight in the ring, because you're screwed. You want to have been punched in the nose a few times before, that you know how to come back from it when you're seeing stars. So yeah, for sure. And look, in a flying analogy is very easy in this, because you practice your emergencies in a simulator, because what you're doing is you're mitigating risk, and you're going through rehearsal of failure, and it drives you into scenarios where you will crash, and there is things that you can't get out of, and it's like designed for you to fail, so how to then come back from it, or what to do the next time. So yes, it's all of the rehearsal of your checks and your drills and how to do things. But because when you're there flying for real, and you're flying a multi-million-dollar jet, and the risks are high, and there's people's lives at stake and all the rest of it, then you don't want that to be the first time you've experienced something.
Experience the terror of being exposed in a very critical point. I think if you were not exposed to many times a critical point in which you are responsible, you are accountable, and put yourself to this exposition, you at some point, I think that comes to the question that you understand that I'm already leading this part of the conversation. It is, can you share with us how, if this background helped you, and then feel free to share with us a little bit about your experiencing, having this airplane with so many lives inside of it, if it's not traumatic for you whatsoever.
No, it's fine. No, I'll go through it, because you've built it nicely, and then we can come out with with like learning points afterwards. But so the background to the story was, so I was flying a transport plane called a Voyager. It's an Airbus A330, which most of the viewers will have been on holiday, but it's a military adapted one with military changes to it. And we were flying from RAF Bryce Norton, which is a big base in the middle of the UK, out to Camp Bastion, which was in Helmand province in Afghanistan. And it was a regular troop move, flying people either for the first time or back into theatre when the Afghan conflict was going on in 2014. So it's 11 years ago. And yeah, you do these, most of these, if you're moving multiple people or high value assets, a lot of it's done at night, so you're less of a target. And on the route out there, it's a long flight, it's 8 or so hours, and boredom hits, and two pilots were flying the plane. I was the co-pilot at the time. There's a hello.
You came to join the conversation.
And yeah, I however many hours into the flight, a friend of mine who was a passenger in the back came forwards for a chat because he knew I was flying it. And I said, look, I'm gonna take a break, so I'll come for a cup of tea in the behind the cockpit. So we call it a flight deck in that type of aeroplane. So I did all my checks, handed over control to the captain, who's the other pilot. So he was then flying it, and then I then left the flight deck, and then I was having my break with my friend, just chatting away. Now there'd been turbulence just beforehand, so the seatbelt signs had been on. So most of the passengers had put their seatbelt, or they'd all put their seatbelts on, but most of them had fallen asleep because it was in the middle of the night. But the seatbelt signs had gone back off, and we were there, stood and just chatting like we are now, when all of a sudden the plane went into a nosedive. We were pinned on the roof, and then thankfully, because it was a military plane, the cockpit door was open. If it was an airliner and you're flying on a commercial jet, then good luck getting a code back into a door and then opening it in this situation. But yeah, the plane's going into a dive or in a dive, and we're all stuck on the roof. So, I'm there in a brightly lit cabin, like we are now, and then flying at night, get into the cockpit whilst stuck on the roof.
Oh my God.
It's pitch black, flashing lights, and all of our possessions that went straps down. So weapons, ammunition, body armor, charts, everything's all stuck on the roof. And then all I can see is the sea, because we're just going straight into the sea. So I then, it's kind of, what do you do now? And my route is diagonally across the roof, and then over to my side of the ceiling, my side of the flight deck, and I know that I can get control of the airplane. It's a fly-by-wire plane, so it's computer driven rather than pulleys and levers. So it means that I can press a button and override the other controls. And at the time, the other pilot is turning around screaming at me, I can't get the autopilot out. I can't get the autopilot out. So, it's this, all of this is happening in a split second. So you don't really, you're making very snap decisions. But in my mind, it's all I've got to do is get the control of the aeroplane. So I scramble along the roof, and then with my feet on the roof, on the ceiling. People keep saying the roof's on top of the plane. The ceiling is what I was on. So with my feet on the ceiling, I then managed to pull myself down and then hold this button down for a certain amount of time, and then it gives me priority. So priority right, and then I can pull the plane out of the dive. So then I go from the ceiling into the footwell of the seat, because it's gone from a negative G to a positive G climb. And yeah, managed to regain control of the aeroplane and go into another American military base on the Syrian border on a Mayday, and yeah, it was all a very messy experience.
You got injured on this G0, this shakeup, right?
Yeah. So it was multiple injuries that will have happened at different points. The medics have tried to figure out the different points that I will have been injured, but they could tell the route that I went, because there was just this smear of blood along the roof, the way that I went. I was wearing a flying suit that wasn't dissimilar to my trousers, because you're going into the desert. I was just covered in blood, so I'd split my hands, split my head, but yeah, I then, when we're on the ground, then go for scans and X-rays, and I'd broken my back and broken my neck.
Right.
So yeah, then it's a long recovery of years of surgery after surgery, and yeah, metal work put in, and so I now bleep going through airports.
This is a lot. This is a lot. And what this gave to you in terms of perspective? Because let's say first part is you building resilience with the sports. You let's cut, kind of simplify, like oversimplify. And then you go to the Royal Air Force, and then I think this is maybe the third act of your life, if I can say something like that.
Yeah.
What type of perspective opened up to you after this experience, and what type of things you start to do after that?
Well, I mean, let's face it, I just before the incident happened, I was fit, healthy, I was still competing in sport and flying, and then went into, I had to learn to walk again. So both physically and mentally, I went from very high to very low, and it was a real sort of hitting rock bottom moment, and it was a long time to then get back out of that. So it wasn't like, I used my resilience that I had from sport and I managed to suddenly flick a switch and get back to it. No, it was a long, hard road that is not a linear one. It's it's definitely peaks and troughs and plateaus. So yeah, it was a tough process, but like you were saying, my background will have helped me in this, and because I was physically fit and mentally fit beforehand, that will have then made my recovery a lot easier. But it was still really tough. I should say, I'd like finish the story, because the people will be listening going like, what the hell, why did that happen to the plane, and what was the whole reason? So what actually happened was the other pilot was taking pictures of the stars at night with an SLR camera, and the camera got jammed in the controls of his side. He'd put his seat forwards, and it jammed at the base of the camera on the because it was a side stick on an Airbus. So yeah, he didn't realize that was that was there. He'd put the camera down and moved his seat forwards, and it jammed the stick fully forwards. So it just stuck the plane into a dive, and that was it. And that's why myself and everyone else was pinned on the roof, and there were 198 people on board. So it would have been a lot of people dead in the sea. But so yeah, that was that in itself was very hard to get your head around, and with blame, with why me, why has this happened, but yeah, it's and I suppose in these dark times of if the physical side's one thing, but the mental side of all these different emotions is certainly a tough one, an enduring one, and yeah, it was. There's no, there's no silver bullet to that. That's the thing that will make you better. But the thing that got me out of it was sport. It was the thing I could rely on.
Yes.
It was what are your passions? What's the thing that keeps you going and drives you, motivates you?
That's very, 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 very important. That what you said is that sometimes people also ask me, how did you, after you having cancer? I think those things get pretty much put you in the perspective, right?
Yeah.
And people ask me, how, when you had cancer, what did you do to kind of? And I said, there is because for as many things as your recover or cancer is something that can be 1 year, 10 years, 20.
And you don't know when you're in it. You've got no idea. You don't know the end.
You don't know the journey. Yeah. Exactly. And then we circle back to the theme of the night is that, and it is kind of a micro situation that explains the macro. That is this blue spaceship in which we don't know where we're going. There is no manual.
Yeah.
And very, very humbly said that just like there is no silver bullet. There's no how I managed to overcome that. For sure, there was a core there, and I think this comes to the core of all the interviews of tonight, and is that no, I think it is not problematic not knowing where you're going. I think problematic is not knowing yourself, your true self, your passions, because once you know your true self, your passions, you can overcome and go through the unknown, in my perspective.
Completely agree. I think the beauty of things is not really knowing your end destination. It's, not that you want to go through life with blinkers on, with no purpose or direction, but that journey, it wouldn't be exciting.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get pure joy and the real highs if you knew the ending, or you knew you had the plot was given away. So I think the most important thing is doing the things that fill you with meaning and purpose, and it's the whole cheesy follow your dreams, but it's doing things that you enjoy, that you like, and surrounding yourself with people that you like and trust in all these different situations and different walks of life, and having new experiences. That's what drives you forward, and that's kind of your, clearly you and I have had to go through quite an extreme version of recovery, and that's it's kind of that phenomenon of post-traumatic growth. People always harp on about the post-traumatic stress and the negatives, and people are very quick to sympathize and go, oh, it must have been tough. And you go, yeah, it was tough, but it's more impressive and it's more powerful for us to then look at the positives.
Yeah.
And that is, and I think, like anything, it's with that resilience piece that we were talking about at the start. You've got to break something down in order to build it back stronger. There's varying degrees of severity in that.
Yeah.
but you've really got to, and this growth, this post-traumatic growth thing is a real phenomenon and a very real thing that people do end up doing quite extraordinary things when they have suffered quite considerably. So, look at what you're doing now, of having gone through cancer and gone through all your treatment and got to where you are now. And I've got friends who have stepped on IEDs and lost both their legs and then become a doctor and a Paralympian and a TV presenter and you name it, and they're all doing these superhuman things. And would they have done that before if they weren't injured or gone through sickness or ill health or these really traumatic incidents in their lives?
Probably not.
Most probably not. It's a really interesting thing when you ask certain people, would you trade losing your legs for where you are now? And a lot of them sort of, it's a weird question to ask. And they go, well, probably not, because it's not. This is my journey. This is where my destiny was.
The hero, the journey of the hero, of the growth, of the experience, right? Before we jump to peak state, tell us a little bit how your friendship maybe with Prince Harry. Did you met him at Royal Air Force? And
yeah, I worked. I'm no longer there now, but so I actually went through flying training with Prince William, and Prince Harry I met when I competed in the Invictus Games. So as a wounded serviceman, there is a sporting event, a multi-sporting event. There's 25 nations at the moment, which is growing and growing around the world in an Olympic format for wounded, injured, and sick individuals from these various militaries, and they all come together every couple of years and compete against each other.
Wow.
It started in 2014 in London, and I competed in 2016 in Orlando and 2017 in Toronto. Mm-hmm. So it was in that process that I met Prince Harry, and it was that process that really got me out of things. When I'm saying it was sport and sports recovery, power of sport that got me through it. My consultant at the time, when I was in a pretty low ebb of my recovery, was the Team UK doctor for Invictus, and it was her that said, I think that you should go for the team. I think you should try out for this. But the sports that I could go for weren't my normal sports because of the injuries that I had. I couldn't do any impact sports. I couldn't run or do anything. So I did went for it, got in the squad, into the training squad, and then had to sort of train up and make the team. But I was cycling and swimming, and then got into the games, and kind of the rest was history there, which was amazing.
That's super cool. And then how the Invictus connect with the peak state? A peak state for sure is after Invictus, right?
Yeah. So peak state, it was born from something we were doing with the UK military, on looking after the good management of good mental health. When people talk about mental health nowadays, it's almost always looking at mental ill health, and in a military sense, a lot of it is post-traumatic stress, PTSD, and we just think that there is a huge area there that is undiscovered and untapped. And why should it be like that you're only looking after your mental health when you're not feeling right? It's it's like sending a soldier into battle with no armor.
Correct.
It's you've got to get people we define it as prehab rather than rehab. Don't wait until you're sick. You need to forearm people. You need to give them the tools and techniques so that they can this thrive and survive kind of mentality. So that was it. So yeah, we created this platform, and it's all scientifically backed research in predominantly sports psychology, executive coaching, so looking through the cognitive behavior models, emotional regulation models, but giving people the tools and techniques so that they can perform better. But also when the inevitable does happen and they're struggling, then they've got these tools that enable them to get out of the stressful times.
Amazing. This is super interesting.
Yeah, so we launched it in 2020 in Australia. The Australian government wanted us to create this thing for the first responders down there. So it was the 250,000 first responders. So ambulance drivers, paramedics, firemen. In the aftermath of their bushfires, it was the Black Summer bushfires. So we launched it there, and now we're operating all over the world and working in elite sport and Formula One and now schools. So yeah, we're very proud of what we're doing.
You're pretty much everywhere. I think Peak State. I mean, not that Royal Force or other things couldn't take you, but as I see, Peak State took you for transversally into many industry, many type of business, and you mentioned about Formula One, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe does this explain your connection with Monaco, or is not related? Did you get closer to Monaco because of Peak State or Formula One? What's your bridge there?
Monaco is because we put a film into the Monaco Film Festival on the importance of mental fitness and our backstories, and we won an award at the Monaco Film Festival. We won Best Social Impact Award there. So
a movie.
Yeah, it was a short film. It was a 20-minute film.
We're gonna make sure that we put the link of the movie when you.
Yeah. I'll give you that. And then off the back of that, we had a lot of connections and things started moving in Monaco. So yeah, ended up working in all sorts of walks of life, and now I write a health and performance column for Monaco Life magazine. Work with TV Monaco, and work in all sorts of areas down there, and running a podcast for them called High Flyers.
You got a prize for this podcast, right?
That was for a different podcast. So that was for Declassified that I run with some
a bit back on time.
Yeah.
But you're a badass cool podcaster then.
I'm learning. I like to.
You're humble,
man. No, it's good. It's good fun. I mean, you do it yourself, so it's nice, and it's nice pulling stories out of people.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. It's very, very, very good, especially when you have good people like you seated here. It feels great. It's a nice conversation, chilled. Anyway, you share your life mission, talk about business. It feels very good.
Yeah, and Formula One and motor racing and sort of high performance sports or military, or it's all very, very similar, but the key to that is that how do you prepare mentally and get yourself up for performing at something. And people often look at elite performers like Formula One drivers, like we're working with surfers now, and the general public will look at them and try and figure out how they're unlocking their potential. And everyone is different. Everyone does different things. Sportsmen often do fairly similar techniques, whether it's breathwork techniques or focus drills, or you'll see Formula One drivers with tennis balls and skipping ropes and doing reaction things beforehand, and it's, you know, it's all about focusing your mind, getting yourself in the correct mental state, the correct you know, sort of levels of energy release before you're there about to perform, and there are lots of tools and techniques that they use that we now you know, enhance what the athletes are doing, but then enable the general public to then figure out how they can do these techniques and then put it into their daily lives. And
This together with the peak state, right? Just like the high performance for those athletes on Formula One. You were referring
correct,
to.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so because, you know, why shouldn't everyone be entitled to perform at their best at something? Whether you're a musician or whether you're, you know, a kid at school and you're about to go into exams, what's the point in doing all of that revision and work and then you don't know how to perform in an exam because you just get nervous?
Oh yes.
So it is, what is it? You know, do you just go and choke, or do you actually rehearse and prepare properly like an elite athlete would before you're going in to perform at whatever skill, or, you know, it could be public speaking or delivering a presentation at work.
That's
You know,
correct.
what's
And
the point in doing all of that work when you can't then deliver that
deliver
performance
that.
on the
And
yeah.
that's very good. You sharing this to the world. The future looks is something that you want to share with us a little bit. This to become inside of Monaco or Monaco Life. This voice that can help to translate and be the bridge of people from outside or inside of the bubble of blockchain AI, and help people like me and all the members of this Web3 district here to say, hey guys, if you want to communicate better,
Yeah.
I think you're a perfect person for that. Do you agree with me with this?
Oh, Eddie, I think I'm the perfect person for it as well. Um, I think that look, communication is key, and effective communication is key. People who are specialists in their given fields, I think that they can only truly be effective and and kind of effective and proactive when they're giving the information that they know, if they simplify the language that they use in a manner that the person that's listening or people that are listening understand it, rather than, you know, people try to come across intelligent and to be sort of more powerful by explaining things in a way that it seems too complicated, or in terminology that you don't understand, or in 3-letter acronyms that you've got no idea what they mean. And I think now more than ever, this kind of Web3 blockchain crypto world is, and AI especially, is it's moving at such a rapid pace that your analogy of a grandpa with a mobile phone, I feel like a grandpa when it comes to most modern technology. So I'm not afraid to be a dummy, and I'm never afraid to ask a question. And if I can ask the questions, the stupid questions, the maybe the obvious questions to the leading people in these different industries and in the world of technology, and like we've just been all the topics that we've just been explaining, then, you know, I hope that I can be a nice conduit, a nice bridge building of that gap between the experts and the people that are interested and want to know about these things, which is why we're creating this Future Lux in Monaco because it's a great platform. You know, it's the Monaco is yes, it's shrouded with mystique, but it's also kind of a leading light in so many different areas, and it's also where a lot of these experts live and spend a lot of time. So it gives us that access point so that the general public and the people that are interested in these different topics can then learn about it from a dummy like me. So I don't have to be, and nor will I ever profess to be the leading light and expert at any of this stuff.
Absolutely.
But hopefully I can then explain it myself or understand it myself in a certain way that is then beneficial to the listener and the people that want to know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing that is all the time, it is a huge exercise, is to understand the the purpose of a company or of a technology, and synthesize the communication in which, as you said, to be effective. The exercise sometimes, as it's cliche, but all the time happens is explain this idea as I was 5.
Yeah.
It is so hard,
Yeah.
right? And I think correct me if I'm wrong, but this background that you have from sports and the military, in which you need to process information, gigantic, complex, and transmit this to another people and fast, because when you are maybe in the war, on times of crisis, you don't have so much time to over explain. You need to really synthesize the information or transmit the general order to be understandable for all social economical backgrounds that you're speaking with.
Yeah.
And am I correct with that?
I mean, a brief is called a brief for a reason. It's brief. It needs to be. People are busy. People haven't got time to do it or the attention span to do deep dives into all of these topics. But they want to know that top line of, what do I need to know in order to, what? If I'm crypto, what do I need to know in order to set up an account and dip my toe into it and know where I am investing, know where I can sort of ethically go into it, know where the safe space to go into it, or this is a higher risk, but is it worth taking that higher risk? It's knowing that, and at the end of any military brief is a check of understanding. Do you actually understand? Or if you don't understand, it's pointless. I need to choose my communication more effectively because I've not given you the brief correctly, and you've not understood it. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into this in a military format, but it's that sort of way of thinking that I think is, yeah, just more bite size, more digestible for the end user.
Absolutely. And it couldn't be more kind of healthy for the moment we are living right now. And what you're doing is a huge service. It is to uh, help democratize, to spread. Is a service for the world, having a military that is former military, but still with the mentality of a high performance athlete from rugby that you are playing, to get all this information and say, guys, if you want to understand that, is this. And then in my opinion, this will create the rate of adoption of many people will look at you and say, okay, now that Nathan explained me that, I this not to cut what I want to listen from you. I went to a presentation of Claros, that is the platform in which make how can I say, disputes on chain. So instead of you going for small disputes to the tribunal or something, there is some on blockchain that can help you to do this mitigation between two people with jurors and etc. I know Clement for 5 years already, and then one of our friends and members here, a woman, one time she explained the Claros to the audience. I think 10 minutes. 10 minutes, right, Katya? Katya, that Diana more or less explained. In 10 minutes, everybody from marketing guy, me, Katya, everybody, we understood what Claro was. In the end of the presentation, I say, Clement, is 5 years you're trying to explain me, even me of 20 years of tech, I'm trying to understand what you do. You were not able to she made in 10 minutes. And then after he said, okay, we're sure going to consider something. But it's exactly, I think, the service you're gonna bring to, I think, my opinion, you know.
I hope so. I hope so. And a lot of it is, there's a key and there's a keyhole, and you've got to find the right one. Look, I don't think we'll get it right on all accounts, but I think if we can simplify things enough and give people the permission to actually want to know more, I think that's the key there.
Exactly.
That's my key that I want to give. And because we want to cover all the different topics from the metaverse to blockchain, all the way through to humanoid robots and everything. All of these kind of interesting topics that people may or may not have heard, but I want to give them the simplified version so that they can then explore more, and they want to then, I'll try that. I'll create an account.
I think
I'll do this.
I think 100% you're gonna manage to do that. I'm very excited to see what you're gonna build in Future Lux for, or together with Monaco Life. Everybody is kind of very high expectations on that. We are going sadly to the end of our interview, but last remarks, something that you want to share, anything you want to share, put it out, any shameless promotion. Feel absolutely free. The stage is all yours.
No, I don't like shameless promotion, but the things that are the one thing that I'm really looking forward to is working with you in this space.
My God,
and
flattered.
And what we've done in the past that I feel that has really added value to the people that have engaged with it and done this is putting these kind of human performance, mental fitness, and wellness techniques into events to enhance people's sort of personal self and engagement in that given event. For example, going to a conference where it can be pretty boring. It's late nights, early mornings, lots of speeches, and much like I was saying before, where people, kids are going to do their exam and they don't know how to perform. Well, if people are going to a conference and they want to actually take something in, then they want to be actually cognitively performing. So we run different techniques and different
We forgot to
expertise at
talk about
these
this.
things.
Let's talk about this. It's so cool. Interrupting you, but yeah,
No.
we need. Let's say that is not last minute because we need to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's putting in activations to events and conferences that enable people to then be happier and healthier and more cognitively aware and engaged with an event so that they can get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And this is everything from doing breathwork technique seminars to exercises to the red light therapy to vitamin injections to IV lines to you name it, we can do it.
Digital detox. To use digital more consciously and better. It is, as understood, is not a counter. The thing that I like about this project you are kind of breeding to put inside of the high tech, high performance digital workers, it is that you're not counter tech or technology or whatever. You're saying, guys, technology is amazing. Let me give you kind of a pause, or not a pause, but a digital detox for you to then come back and continue to perform good your work, right?
Yeah, completely. And yeah, look, this sector can be an incredibly unhealthy sector because you're spending a lot of time sat in a chair at a desk looking at screens. And half of the time, the most powerful thing that you can do is get outside, is go and get some fresh air and look at different fractals in nature, and not just look at screens and yeah, that I think can be incredibly powerful. But look, we tailor solutions to the different event. We've done stuff at Cannes Film Festival with people in ice baths on the roof of a yacht, and acupuncture and vitamin shots and yoga sessions, paddleboarding in the bay, to just doing all sorts of fun things so that people can make the most out of it.
This is super cool, and this match pretty much with also Tim Vieira was sharing. I think also Tim is interesting that he also connects this, maybe influenced by you, connects this. Hey, let's go surf, then go to the school, because then after all dopamine, serotonin is released, you are able to kind of sit down and concentrate on something. What you're saying is pretty much valid. Among the culture of digital workers and entrepreneurs and tech, there is nobody speaking in a way that it is not counter speaking about this digital life, the notivagos that stay until late night doing, but coming a person that says, hey, this is amazing, digital is amazing, digital is the future, but there is amazing ways to do that in a digital detox, doing some other type of experience. I think you're going to bring something close to that. Now, on the top of that, I heard that you has some type of anti-hangover technique. Can you share a bit with us?
I mean, yeah. Look, we've trialed it, and we've had different clinicians and professors look at these different areas, and yeah, it's a mixture of different vitamins that you should take, and hydration solutions, and the use of various health tech. The most recent Invictus Games out in Vancouver and Whistler, they had salt cave therapy, which was a booth that you go in, and it's pumping the air in the little booth that you're in, and a high concentration of salt vapor,
Okay.
mixed with sound and mixed with red light.
All right.
And 15 minutes in that, you are coming out with it's an unbelievable
You're kidding me.
transformation.
Well,
Yeah.
imagine creating this experience. Let's say we have these events of tech. There is all the time a closing party, or sometimes there is a party in between the 4 or 5 days, and in the third day a person goes to those type of party, and the next 2 days they are gone. They're not even there. Creating a recovery session like that in the middle, and it's even cool to experience. And it's, if the person needs to work in the next day to go to the conference, and you offer this solution for the organization.
Yeah. And these Vemi beds, which are vibrating platforms that you can lie on, and under a soundscape and bit of sensory deprivation, half an hour on that, and you're a different person.
Amazing.
It realigns everything. So yeah, these are the things that we're now offering at these various events, just to allow people to take themselves away from the tech, to then allow them, when they do re-engage, they're just feeling happier, healthier, and they're going to perform a lot higher.
That's amazing. Guys, we spoke with Nathan Jones. It is, 100% it is required to have another sessions of interviews. I hope you guys liked the interviews. It was 3 amazing interviews with a lot of stories to share with us. And stay tuned. For sure we're going to share more in the future. Stay connected. We're going to be talking about more things in the next edition. Every 12th day of each month we are together. So that May 12th, feel absolutely sure we're going to come back with more interesting guests and stories to share. Thank you very much. Round of applause to Nathan Jones.